Can you name a warship that costs the same as a battleship to research, but with capabilities slightly lower than that of a fleet destroyer? If you said any coastal top tier ship, you get 1 point. If you said the United States Navy's destroyer escort, USS Dealey, you would score 2 points. Finally, the US coastal tree has received a destroyer escort, otherwise known as a frigate, worthy of being named a top tier vessel. But does that make it any good? Well, not really. But it's not bad either, and it has some limitations too, but we'll get into those soon. Born out of the need for a capable successor to the PC-461 class submarine chasers, which were considered too small to carry the required anti-submarine weapons and sensors, and too slow to catch modern submarines. The Dealey class destroyer escorts were born from this need, and they were designed to be cheap, quick to build, and ready for war. The USS Dealey, the lead ship and namesake of the class, was launched on November 8, 1953 and commissioned on June 3, 1954. Named after Medal of Honor recipient Commander Samuel D. Dealey of US submarine USS Harder. Slightly faster and larger than the destroyer escorts they succeeded, the class was fitted with twin 3-inch or 76mm guns, anti-submarine rockets, a depth charge rack, and 6 depth charge launchers. There were later modernizations that removed the ASW rockets and the depth charges in favor of nuclear-capable anti-submarine rocket launchers. Most of this class were also fitted with a hangar and landing pad for the unique dash drone helicopters, which were designed to deliver Mark 44 and Mark 46 torpedoes onto enemy submarines. As built, the ship's armament was mounted fore and aft in manually trained dual-purpose mounts, which could be used against surface and aircraft targets. The Mark 17 Hedgehog was cancelled before the ships were built, so in its place 2 British Squid anti-submarine mortars were fitted ahead of the ship's bridge in Dealey. The Alpha anti-submarine rocket launcher were fitted in the remaining ships of the class. Launchers for anti-submarine torpedoes were fitted, and the depth charge throwers were fitted to the ship's fantail. The sensors include the SPS-6 air search radar and the SQS-4 low-frequency sonar. All of the class except Dealey, Cromwell and Courtney were upgraded in the 1960s by adding facilities for the dash drone helicopter, with a hangar and helicopter deck replacing the aft 3-inch gun mount, and a longer-range SQS-23 sonar replaced the SQS-4. The 3 unmodified ships were fitted with variable depth sonar, and all ships had their Squid and Weapon Alpha launchers removed late in their career. The Mark 32 torpedo tubes for the Mark 44 and Mark 46 torpedoes were fitted. The drone helicopters proved very unreliable, and their failure contributed to the relatively short life of this class. USS Dealey's service history was unremarkable, participating in exercises with various nations and also serving as the flagship of Escort Squadron 10, tasked with screening the carrier USS Wasp. Dealey was decommissioned on the 28th of July 1972 in favour of the Knox-class frigate and simultaneously stricken from the vessel register. She was transferred to the Uruguayan Navy the same day and renamed ROU 18 de Julio, the third ship to commemorate the date of adoption of Uruguay's first constitution. She arrived in Montevideo, Uruguay on the 17th of April 1973. In 1981, 18 de Julio rescued the crew of the merchant ship MS Harp, sunk in a heavy storm in the South Atlantic Ocean. 18 de Julio was stricken and broken up for scrap during 1991. The Dealey class was 315 feet long overall, with a beam of 36 feet 8 inches and a draft of 11 feet 10 inches. Displacement was 1877 long tons at full load, with 2 Foster Wheeler boilers feeding steam to geared steam turbines, which drove a single propeller shaft. The machinery was rated to 20,000 shaft horsepower, which gave a design speed of 27 knots or 50 kilometers per hour. Ahoy, welcome to the channel, thank you for joining me. If you've made it this far, throw me a shekel and hit the like button. We're looking at USS Dealey, the first real frigate in the US line, in my opinion. Anyway, it's great, I like it, but there are some drawbacks. I love a flush deck. The raised forecastle and the flush deck, just seamless lines are great. You can see that it's still got that World War II style bridge, but mostly she's starting to have that modern hull form, and that's what I want to see more of. Now the ship itself, it hasn't got anything unusual in the form of armament. You've seen it before in the Japanese frigates. You've seen it, 76mm is a pretty standard armament. We have 4 of them. The major drawback being that there is no rangefinder, no fire director, and there is no there's no fire director. So you get the range data, but you don't get the lead indicator, and you get none of the fancy Cold War era radar rangefinders that some of the other frigates have. So that can be a big drawback. But the caveat to that being, if you actually make it here, if you've earned this ship legitimately without buying it or jumping ahead of the queue, then you will have the gunnery skills to make this ship work. You are limited to 8.5 kilometers and got 3 types of shells: high explosive, armor piercing, high explosive, and HEVT. And you have an array of depth charges as well. But unfortunately, we don't have the squid launcher, even though it's fitted there on the goddamn front of the bridge. We've got no squid launcher, which really disappoints me because the Blackpool and the Whitby have the limbo, and the squid is the predecessor weapon to that. So it would have been nice to see that. We've got some K guns on the midship deck there, but they don't work either. So you're limited to the guns. You're limited by the fact that you need to do it all manually. They are manually trained guns, and that is historically correct. You don't have much to go with it either. So in terms of 3.7, the only other option you have are the LCS, which is very squishy against larger ships. At 3.7, you will face larger ships. And then the other option is the USS Cyclone, which is a great closed waters zone control boat, but a recent change to the damage model sees its survivability go right down. This central ammunition storage can be detonated and the whole boat will blow with one shot with armor piercing high explosive. Having a look and comparing the stats of the other frigates that you will no doubt face, these ones are slightly higher in battle rating at 4.0. They have the matched armor. I've covered the Terra Nova. If you'd like to know more, check out that video. Terra Nova, I enjoyed my time. This one has a fire control radar, which made gunnery easy. The Soviet anti-submarine corvette, fitted with a single 76mm gun, has a fire control radar with pretty good updates time. It's at 4.0. It's got a fire control room right down in the bowels of the ship. HMS Whitby, as I mentioned before, has the 4.7-inch gun, fire control radar, fast update time, and the limbo mortars. Even the Japanese Isuzu at 3.7 has a tiny little fire director and a fire control room. Basically the same guns, a little bit older variant or older mount. And then we have the Italian Albatross, which so far is my favorite of all of the frigates and gunboats slash sub chasers that all sort of fall into that War Thunder frigate designation. So yeah, Dealey's good, but don't go and buy it, okay? Because it's really only going to be good for grinding out daily tasks, and it also suffers from a few other issues that are endemic to all frigates. And when I say issue, I think it's more of just a play style of these particular vessels. You are given a destroyer spawn. So that puts you in the gun sights of all the destroyers, and at 3.7 that's not too bad because they don't have too much firepower. In an up tier you will see things like Frank Knox, and it's best to just stay away from them until you can close the distance. A smart destroyer captain can stay out of your gun range, knowing that you don't have a rangefinder and you can't range out past 8.5 kilometers, and he will take advantage of that. if you're able to close that distance and switch to AP, then you are able to shred destroyers at very close range. Project 12412. Doing a fair amount of damage to us, but we are resilient. We have a large damage model. It is 16 millimeters of steel. Sometimes you have to accept that if you choose to play a frigate early on in the match, then if the coastal area is not contested and you can't see them, then you'll have this issue that you see right here where I can't make it to the capture zones in time to contest that ticket bleed. And that happens at higher tiers for cruisers that don't have scout planes and battleships as well. But this will be your first instance of coming across that if you haven't played Blue Water. And so sometimes you might need to start in a lower tier coastal vessel first to try and secure the coastal zone and then spawn in the frigate. But then you're at the risk of not making it to the battle zone in time. So when you're making that mad dash towards the capture zones, and at 50 kilometers an hour, it's not slow, but it's certainly slower than a fleet destroyer. The rapid fire 76 at close range can do a lot of work to destroyers, especially these early destroyers, thin-skinned and open gun mounts. I played mainly using high explosive just to test how the damage model was. I've been told for weeks that it was heavily high explosive meta. So the first few games we just played purely high explosive, and with 500 grams of TNT, it was doing its job. Saw a lot of these Italian sub-chasers almost every game. And against the high explosives, it was pretty resilient. During my time, I also didn't feel like the RP rewards were reflective of how much damage output I was doing. Averaging about 4,000 RP per match. For a top tier coastal vessel, I was hoping for more rewards. I feel like the SKR and all those boats are more rewarding to play. But, you know, I don't really focus too much on the numbers and the stats and the multipliers. I play the game and I enjoy it, and I try to adapt to its systems. You see there, old mate is just not wanting to die. But at this point, I realized I was about to have some fun, so I turned on my microphone, and I will leave you with the live commentary. Now we're going to check out and just see how effective this armor-piercing round is at close range. This guy hasn't seen me. We don't produce much smoke. I'm hoping that he saw the pirate flag and was like, oh my god, I'm going to take out his torpedoes, his guns. Got to keep in mind he's got fish in the water, so we're slowing down a little. Let them overshoot. He will no doubt dump some more. Italian torpedoes can be very fast. If torpedo mod is not on, so I need to make a hard starboard turn here. Bring that stern around. The gunners there on the stern are freaking out at the sight of that trail coming in. Just got to keep the armor piercing going into the hull. Trying to get that engine bay. Trying to get underneath the turrets to the crew compartments. Managing to capture that zone. In comes a G5. He's dumped a torpedo, but I think it might be a little bit too close for that. Will it finish him? It has finished him, but we secured the kill. Old mate saying it's bullshit, but, you know, that was what happens when you let a frigate get that close. Should have dumped more torpedoes. We've got another Italian sub-chaser. He's dumping torpedoes. They've got wide angles on them, those torpedo launchers, but they only have one per side, so we're going to turn in, hard port turn, bring that stern around. Gunners are giving their C to work out. G5's there, offering some support. We've rammed him just before the bridge. He's dumped depth charges. They've gone over the turret. We're going to dump our own. I have noticed that depth charges don't seem to be as effective as they used to. Everyone's throwing depth charges. Everyone's throwing smoke. Looks like the G5 is dropping artillery. Don't know if we'll be able to finish him off. We've got aircraft inbound. I really wish those depth charges had have come off, but it was pretty glorious to see his flying over the A turret. Got a torpedo coming up astern there. But it's all she wrote. We've got a Fletcher, a Jenny Airy. 1 versus 1 close range against these reserve tier destroyers is its brutality, even just with the one turret. And if they're engaged with someone else, it's just free kills. But still, we lose to the capture zone and the ticket bleed. So I found it quite hard to secure victories at the moment, playing solo and not able to contest the capture zones at all. It's kind of frustrating. But that's just how it is. Like, I'm getting obscene firepower at 3.7 at the trade of mobility. I've had to remain evasive, but now that this guy's within effective firing range, we can open fire. The destroyer escort is very maneuverable, and it does feel somewhat more maneuverable than a fleet destroyer. You are able to bring your speed down and your tail around very quickly. Alright, we've run hot on the guns now, but for the next 10 seconds or so, he's just going to get rained on. The belts of AP ammunition cost 3,900. So at this range, I feel more comfortable using the high explosive to earn silver lines rather than spend them. And I sort of always play on a shoestring budget. I spend all my silver lines as I earn them. Expert crews for all. Sneaky shot at that American destroyer out the back. What have we got around the corner here? A non-threat. And so this time I had a teammate that was running caps, and look, we won. So I don't seem to have much impact on the way the capture zones go, even if I'm killing the enemies around them. Wait, did I just kill a Fletch? Did I just kill a Frigate? Who was that American I fired at just before? How's it going, boat? Boat boy. Friendly chap having a chat before. He was worried I quit naval, but never. But sometimes you just need to take a brain break. And I did that. Heavy coastal presence, so I've decided to come in the Cyclone, just to clear out some of these high tier coastals. Whoa-ly moly. RBU says no. That was an overshoot. Sparviero. I have to be careful he doesn't use armor-piercing rounds on me. Where'd he go? There he is, get him, while he's distracted. If he learns the strength of his AP, I'm in big trouble. Okay, what's up next? I swear it's the same guy I'm killing every time in that Italian thing. They're so strong, so sturdy. Not my cup of tea. I like fast boats. And my APDS is doing nothing to him but glancing off and killing the boat behind. Oh, premium mine boat. Shoot the mines. And stay away from them too. He learned about the AP. Forlaga just refuses to die to my needles. Every time he mans the gun, I'll just shoot him off again. Oh, I've been AP'd again by Sneaky Fashy. I'm going to just claim that I had some impact on my team being able to capture Bravo while I fought all the high-tiered coastals. Now I'm just going to sit at range and see if I can't dial in some actual hits. Free fire is usually not my method either. I find that I'm way less accurate when I free fire than I am if I just take my time to fire a few shots. What have we got? RBUs in the air. You can see them on the scope. Check the radar out. They're coming in. We've got about 5 seconds. Rockets inbound. We gave the order for fall back as soon as we saw the rocket launch, so they should miss us. There they are. Never gets old, that sound. Not having much luck hitting these light boats, but this is just a skill issue on my part. It's been a while since I've used a pure 76mm armed ship. Probably since Christmas, I think it was. But it can only be good for your skill working on gunnery this way. Now, my skill issue and the fact that these guys are actually competent coastal players means they've taken back the Bravo, they've wiped out all my AI friends. It's basically just me. Switch targets. Let's go for the VS-8. We should be able to hit him second go. 15, 20 degrees, I think. He's not moving very fast. There we go. Contact, contact. Bring it back. Got him. Alright. This Falaga. I wonder... No, it's not the same one. He has died. That's good. The 204 is my main priority, though. He's got the hardest hit from that range. Come on. You can do it. Boats without a smokestack are harder to read too, I find. Just one more hit, he's got 2% crew. There we go. This Falaga, we're going to use AP on him now. I've had enough of his shit, and then look at what it's doing. So there is night and day difference between high explosive and semi or armor piercing high explosive. The OD-200, he's brave coming out in the open water. Oh, we've got a destroyer respawn. We're going to have to go back to the armor-piercing high explosive. It's going to take 10 seconds for that cartridge to be changed. Hurry up, boys. It's life or death. That's the Ognavoy. Alright, we just need to try and hit the ready rack below the A turret. We don't have much TNT, so we may have to hit it directly. Lost the rear turret. We can do it. We've had a detonation there of that ready rack. That will give me a chance to think. Spread some along the length of the ship. Going back to the front. Have a look around for danger. Get the damage control on. I should turn off the repair system. Got a river barge here and taking too long with the fire control. Should have prioritized that first. Oh, every player in here is a human, as confirmed by our team chat. Gonna nestle up here besides my friend. Hello, Ayanami. War Thunder spawn putting us nice and close. Reach out and touch somebody. Japanese destroyer sighted. Yeah, it started us on a collision. It is an intended feature. And I can't type very well. Okay, let's get back to the business at hand. Japanese destroyer. Let's put some range shots out. Landing decent hits, but only really superficial damage. But my friend in the destroyer is managing to keep him occupied. Look at all the coastal boats we have to deal with. We've got an ally in a Project 204. We'll try and keep him alive. Now this... I mean, I guess us not having a fire director is a huge boon to lower tier coastals, because in these very low tier battles, you have an insane amount of firepower, and these little boys are relying on that fellow there to enforce some order on the other teams, destroyers and frigates. And if he gets greedy and just focuses down the light boats, he's not doing his job. So I'll do my job and I'll focus him down. We've got rockets in the air. Hopefully that's from the friendly 204. our radar is able to tell the difference between a friendly and an enemy rocket. I do like that. No luck there. He is reversing, so we'll shoot over the ship. And not having a fire director, I have a strong suspicion that the actual ranging is not entirely correct. There is some discrepancy between what I am shooting at and where it lands. Going with the AP, trying to find that engine compartment before he reply fires. He managed to hit our turret, but only superficial damage. The American destroyers do have big, high explosives, so we need to be mindful, and we will try and stop this guy from advancing any further. There we go. Let the guns cool, and then we need to advance forward and help the team. Got a cyclone here on the alpha point. Hard to tell if he's coming towards us or away. It looks like he's reversing. Got some contact, just splinters. One through the bridge. We are overheated the gun though, that ticking noise, if you can hear it. I'm not going to bother changing shells. It does take too long. 10 seconds is too long for me. Got an aircraft inbound. Asheville is down. Got to make sure you account for the velocity of your ship when you're aiming at an aircraft as well. Don't just read the scope itself, the radar lead. You do have to account for... Oh, I hit him. The coastal lads are having a great time. They're hotly contesting both of the zones, back and forward, going on. Got another enemy heading towards the alpha point. We need to stop him. Oh, that should be a good shot. Waiting for ammo. Fire. Oh. Clipping him there. Bravo point is falling again. Alpha point is falling. Charlie is under enemy control. No contact there with the shells. Wet Console has been slapping people with his LCS. We need to find him. Feel like a bully. But that's the enemy destroyer's fault for not taking me out. So this, like the whole thing I was saying about frigates being annoying, it's totally like part of their playstyle, because if you just plop these frigates down in the coastal spawn, they are going to ruin days and ruin fun and drive even more players away. So if you see a frigate and you're playing in a low tier blue water, your mission is to save your coastal friends and kill it before it can get in amongst the sheep. Because once it is in amongst the sheep, it's very hard to kill. And that goes for all frigates with fast-firing 76mm autocannons. This is part of their role outside of wartime, to intimidate little boats. If you ever run into a frigate on the high seas, whether you be out in your fishing boat, I'm sure you would agree. Little riverboat is going to get clapped by these APs if they land. Oh, the LCS is starting to pick a fight. The wet biscuit, the soggy sayo. Have some of those. We didn't get the kill, that's alright. At least our teammate did. Oh, we've got two enemies. I cannot... It's the kimchi. The kimchi, I think. The kimchi. I feel really bad for mispronouncing ship names. T-14, hard port turn please, sir. Hard over port. Where is that torpedo? Pretty much off its track, I'm pretty sure. So now that I've played, say, 9 to 10 games, functionally it feels very powerful with the APHE. It feels like the Japanese frigates, like the Ayanami, the Isuzu. Yeah, I like it. It's good, but it just sucks that it's the very, 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 very last boat. And it sucks that you have so many terrible boats in between to try and earn it. See you later, Ayanami. And a successful game there. Well done to all involved. And being 3.7, you're going to run into these types of players who are just so used to sitting there farming coastals with their secondaries. They wouldn't know a main gun if it punched them in the face. Sitting here changing to APHE, and we're just going to unleash hell. Full ripple fire, every gun, all auto, full auto, until they go hot. I want the barrels to melt off. More than enough killing power to 1v1 a destroyer at this range. Especially if they don't know what they're doing. This guy's like, what? Normally you die to my secondaries. What is going on? This is blasphemy. I am Commander Tyrael. This is my favorite US frigate. Subscribe, like for more.